Hi friends, Erin here, coming to you from my southeastern Wisconsin Zone 5B 6A garden. Today I want to talk to you about what I do when a garden starts to look like heck, because whipping a section of garden into shape is not as difficult as you might think it is, or as time consuming. So I thought I would show you how we're going to get this garden behind me looking a little bit better. So this part of the garden was actually largely replanted this year. I lost about 75% of what was planted here this year. And I believe it was because of invasive jumping worms. I have a whole video shot on that I haven't yet edited, and I will get to it at some point, but it doesn't really pertain to today because that has nothing to do with why this garden looks like it looks. So let's take a look at some of the sort of bad bits of this garden. So we have lots of weeds, we've got lamb's quarter, we've got all sorts of weeds kind of mixed in here. There's some thistle in there. There's always some oxalis in there. So the weeds are obviously part of it. Some of these plants probably need a little support. What you see standing up here is the phlomis, some of which has flopped. The leaves don't look very good on it. I do like the flower heads on it. And if we look around the edge here, you can see the edge is looking a little ragged, and there's a lot of weeds kind of growing in from the edge. We probably need to edit some of the things, like in here we've got lamium growing, probably a little bit too much of that. So, and I also have just 3, I believe, plants to add to this garden. If you look back here, if you can see that, there's quite a bit of jewelweed back there, and that's just because there's a hole. Jewelweed in this garden will fill in anywhere where there isn't something else growing. So I actually have 3 asters that we're gonna pop in that part, get a little bit more height in here as well. Garden also could use a little bit of water, but I wanted to get in here and do this job and then come back and hit it with water when we're all done. All right, so I'm gonna show you how quickly we can get this garden looking good. I have brought everything with me, which is sort of one of the things. I try to get everything I might need for a project together so that I'm not constantly running back and forth looking for something. So let me show you what I have here. So in terms of tools, I have my favorite spade, my favorite hoe, my favorite edge cutter. You can see these are all well used. I've also brought along my little mini spade in case I need to dig any weeds out from the root. If they don't just pull out, I'll have to dig them. I have a couple of bamboo canes and my big loppers to cut those off with in case I need to stake anything in here, and there are some dahlias in here, so they might need staking. And then I also brought along my garden twine. I love this garden twine. So I brought that along. And then I have my pop-up bag to throw all the stuff in. The only thing I didn't bring actually was the plants, but that's kind of the next phase here. So, oh, and gloves. So I'm gonna get in here and we're gonna get at this. Okay, I want to pause to show you where I'm at right now. That was 25 minutes of weeding, basically. So now I'm gonna go in, and I did cut a few things back here and there. Now we're gonna go in and do a little bit more fine tuning. Trying to maybe, well, some of these things might need to get cut back a little bit. Some of these things might just need a little bit of staking. I think a lot of the dahlias could use a little staking, especially since I'm going to put a sprinkler on this in a little bit. And then, like, I still have to deal with the phlomis right here and try to make that look a little bit neater. So I just want to give you a time check on where we're at with things. So we are at basically 25 minutes so far. Okay, so I've cut things back and sort of fluffed and staked things as much as I feel like doing in this garden. So I did stake, I think, almost all the dahlias. I cut back most of the stackies, betony, because betony is tough. Like for a little bit after the flowers are done, the blooms look really good. And then all of a sudden they start looking terrible. So I thought we're just gonna cut those back. I cut back a little bit of the Achillea yarrow that was looking a little rough. Cleaned up the phlomis and just kind of left bare sticks standing there with the flower heads on because I think they're interesting. And now I want to add some asters in this hole that's kind of in the back. So this is the one that I have. This is called Big Leaf Aster. It's Aster macrophyllus twilight. So these are the flowers. Here's the leaves. I got that at Northwind Perennial Farm, Roy Diblick's place. The stats on that are 1 to 3 feet tall, 2 to 3 feet wide, bloom late summer to mid-fall. The large flower heads consist of a ring of lavender petal-like rays. The rays surround a central cluster of yellow. Attracts bees and butterflies. So I have 3 of those. I forgot that I'd picked up another plant there, which is completely unknown to me, but I thought looked really interesting. This is Lythrium alatum. Winged loosestrife. I know loosestrife is going to scare some people, some types of loosestrife, and I don't know if this is even one of those things where the common name is actually what is actually the same as the botanical name for the bad loosestrifes or not, but this is awfully pretty, and I did get this from a reputable source, so I trust them that they wouldn't sell me something that's going to go crazy. Okay, 20 to 36 inches tall, 12 to 15 inches wide. Blooms July to September. Winged loosestrife has single purple flowers blooming on short stems that arise from some of it is covered on the sign here. The pale purple petals have darker purple midvein, resembled the texture of crinkled tissue paper. There aren't a lot of, the flowers are tiny on this. So I'm going to add this too. There's certainly some holes here to fill in this garden. So that is the next job here, is to get these 4 items planted. Okay, before I plant that loosestrife, I'm going to actually go in here and stake up this. So this is a clematis. It's called Recta purpurea compacta. So it's a compact purple purple leafed clematis. Doesn't look very purple right now. I think that's kind of what happens. Best color is usually in spring. And while it's happy to sort of flop, I think the height would be better here. So I just found a very unattractive hoop that I'm going to stick on it. Hope we can kind of hide it in there. Okay, so that's the damage of things I cut back and pulled out weeds. I didn't actually, those are sort of lightly fluffed in there, so I could have filled that up quite a bit more. And while it was my intention to leave the seed heads from the alliums standing in there, some of them looked a little ratty and some of them accidentally broke. But I did keep the ambassador allium seed heads. I've been keeping a few pretty allium seed heads. I don't know what we'll do with them, but I figure I can bring them inside, do something with them. But this ambassador allium is particularly beautiful. So I did keep the ones that broke. There's only, I think, 2 more left in there. The garden looks about 1,000,000 times better than when we started. And now the next step is the thing that's going to make all the difference. In fact, if I only did this and nothing else, I think this garden would look 1,000,000 times better, and that is edging. I've said it before, and I will say it over and over again. The one thing you can do for your gardens that will make it look better quicker than anything else is put a nice clean edge on it. Now, I do have a power edger that I will use when I'm creating a new garden in straight turf. I haven't brought that out for probably 2 years now. What I use basically all the time on that I'm edging now is this guy. So this is the Sneeboer half moon edger, and it has steps on it, which is really important, so you've got a good solid foot. And it's got this great T handle and an ash handle. And most importantly, it can be sharpened. This is a very sharp edge, and you can sharpen it. Do not, I know that there are other half moon edgers out there. Do not buy an edger that you cannot sharpen, because that will last you 1 season. Before I use that though, I'm going to run around with another one of my favorite Sneeboer tools, which is the Royal Dutch hoe. So this is a hoe that works on the push and the pull. So all of this is sharpenable and quite pointy. And you can see that what you do is you just lay it on like just at the, like, you know, just below the soil level, and it lays there nice and flat. It's a super long handle with this really good angled grip on it, so you can stand up straight, just move it back and forth. This thing is the key. If you can get out in your garden early in the season, and Roy Diblick actually has a schedule that he gives the people who he does gardens for. I don't have that schedule, but basically he gives them 3 windows that they should be out there, and that would be, obviously it would change depending on your area. And if they can do the whole garden with this, they will cut down their weeds by a factor of many. I don't know what it is, but it's many, many, because what you get is you get all those little weeds that have just germinated that you can barely see, and you take those out of the equation for the season. In this case, I'm gonna clean up this edge. I'm gonna leave links for both of these tools in the description. And when you go look at them, you will definitely notice that these are expensive tools. They are super high quality tools. In fact, I don't actually know if there's a higher quality tool out there. They're all hand forged. Sneeboer is a Dutch company that is family owned. They are delightful people. Everything is hand forged. If something breaks, if a handle breaks, you can buy new handles for things. In fact, I did a video actually on replacing this handle because I did something stupid with that little spade. Oh no! And broke that. And these are all tools that you buy for life. I've had this hoe for at least 5 years. I think I've had the edger for 3 or 4 probably. I've had my spade for probably 10. This spade was the first Sneeboer tool that I bought. And it is the tool that changed my whole thinking about tools. Because what I learned was that a super high quality tool not only helps you garden better, it helps you garden longer. It is designed for comfort and ergonomics and sharpness. Honestly, do not underestimate how important it is that your tools are sharp. It makes all the difference in the world. It's better for you, better for your plants, better for your garden. It's all good. Now, do you need to have these tools to garden? No, you do not. Never let not having a tool keep you from gardening. But my experience has been that once I realized that gardening was going to be a lifelong thing for me and I was going to be doing this forever, and I spend, you know, most of my free time gardening. It is my hobby. It is partly my livelihood. Once I realized that investing in tools that I would have for life and beyond are worthwhile for me. So if you get to that point, these are tools that will make gardening more pleasurable. By the way, I have written I think a garden column actually, because I write a newspaper garden column as well, about this spade, in which I say I'm auditioning heirs to inherit this spade, because this spade and all of these tools will far outlive me. And I am delighted to tell you that the very wonderful family behind Sneeboer Tools reached out to me, and I'm going to be telling you a little bit about some of their tools. So these are all tools that I bought and have had for ages. There are going to be some new tools that I'm going to tell you about as well. But let's just get on with the edging so I can show you what a difference this makes, because I promise you it's a huge difference. So now that you've cut your edge, you do have to get in here and sort of fluff the soil, pull out any weeds that might be left there, clean this up. You can do that with your hands, with a trowel. I sometimes use kind of a combination of both because I like to break up any clumps of soil and push them back up into the bed. So I don't really know any alternative to this bit of hands and knees work that will make an edge look as good as, I mean, I suppose you could push it aside with a shovel, but I just feel like a few minutes of going around and just putting everything where it needs to be. Plus you get up close, you get to, you know, nip out any bad leaves like that. All right, do you see what I'm talking about here? Look at how much just that edge has changed everything about this bed. It's, to me, it's like night and day. Okay, we are at here a little bit less than 2 hours, actually, to do this whole bed. Everything I just did. I'm taking off a little bit of time for stopping to deal with camera stuff, but I think this was a 2-hour project, and I think you cannot deny that this is looking much better. But before we say goodbye, I thought I would actually tell you the plants that are in here because you're probably wondering. So we've already talked about that clematis. This plant and this one behind it, these are all limonium, sea lavender. I think it's actually status, or one type of sea lavender is status. This is a carex, and I can't tell you the name of it, but there used to be several of them in here. I think it's Carex divulsa, maybe. There were several of them in here. I lost a whole bunch of them this year, and I believe that was due to the jumping worms. But the one that's here is hanging on, still looks great. This is Betony, aka Stackies. Some of these are Humulo, some are Summer Crush. This is Nepeta subsessilis Neptune, and I have some more of those in the front. I added those in this year. We've got a variety of dahlias in here. Some of them are Cornell Bronze. This is Cornell Bronze. The purple next to that is Angelica gigas, which I transferred in here. It should be about 6 feet tall. These are quite small. Probably because they were transplanted or because there's just not enough water over here. It's possible. This is another one of those Neptune Nepetas. And of course, the fuzzy leaf in the front is Salvia argentea, which I love. You probably know that. I grow that from seed every year. I think these two actually came back and flowered this year, so that's why they need to regrow a little bit. They're looking a little rugged. The yarrow that's in here is Moonshine, and it's floppy. It's a little floppy. It's a little yarrowy. Well, first of all, there's two plants in here. One is this little yarrow, like a dwarf yarrow right here, that was sent to me this year. Oh, found more weeds, shocker. Firefly red pop. None of the flowers are really showing off the red, but I like it a lot. And then this really cool plant, which is blooming from over there, is a Stokes aster, Stokesea. This is Riptide. This came as a sample from Proven Winners. I love it. I would love more of it in here if it overwinters well for me. This rough leaf that you see in the front is Anchusa, which I don't know a lot about, honestly. I grew it from seed this year, and when I was plunking in all the stuff that didn't have a home, I got plunked in here. I don't know if it's going to flower this year or when I actually know very little about it, but the deer don't eat it. That's what I can tell you. This is Stormcloud Amsonia in here, which hopefully will bulk up. Looks a little anemic in multiple ways here. I've got some salvia in here. This is actually a sage that is bred to be both ornamental and edible. I mean, they're always edible. This one is kind of an edible one grown for its ornamental properties. The chartreuse foliage that you see all throughout here is Drops of Jupiter ornamental oregano. These are the flowers on it. And I came home with one big plant from Walter's Gardens, probably not last year, the year before, and divided it. And it is like spreading, like nicely spreading. I'm happily spreading. This is Persicaria Orange Field. Right here, beautiful. This is a weed, not so beautiful. Back here I've got Baptisia. I think this is Vanilla Cream. I just planted it this year. I went with Baptisia because given the jumping worm activity here, I wanted to go for deep-rooted plants if possible. Baptisia is certainly deep-rooted. I've talked to you about the asters before. This is another one of those angelicas right here. And then in the middle, these kind of rough looking leaves are Phlomis. I believe it's Phlomis fructosa, perhaps. It's the pink one. And this is the seed head from that. Oh, and then I lost all of my echinacea that were in this bed. So the white echinacea that you see is called powwow white. Is that right? Powwow? No, it's not powwow. Color pop white? Something white. It's supposed to be a little bit taller one. I wouldn't say it looks like anything great right now. Probably doesn't matter which one it is because it doesn't look fabulous. But again, there's issues here. This bed is in progress, as we say. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that little before and after. The goal of this video was to tell you not to give up. If you have a bed that's looking really rough and has gone a little rogue on you, get in there and just get after it and work in chunks. This bed has a really nice defining line on it, so I have a clear line of where to stop, and that makes me feel very satisfied when I get everything done for one bed. And if you can't even get to that, I would say just try cleaning up your edges. I'll bet you any money it either is enough to make you happy with what's there, or it's exciting enough to make you want to keep going and clean up the rest of the bed. All right, so I hope you liked it. I'm sure happy this is done. And now I'm going to put the sprinkler on it and get a little bit of water in that bed because everything could use a good drink. And a big thank you to Sneeboer for partnering with me so I can tell you more about these amazing tools. Check the links in the description to find out more. Have a great day. Bye-bye.